He's in a boy band. He's in a boy band. Chuck's pretty hip on boy band. Chuck really, did you know, Jose? So we surprised you with this being a movie podcast, but it actually wasn't gonna be. Chuck wanted to do an entire podcast dedicated to just boy bands.
Yeah,
but better shoot him down.
Just boy bands, and boy band in particular.
Yeah.
Chuck?
Are you in sync or Backstreet Boys?
Oh, it was in sync all the way.
Yeah. Wait, who chooses Backstreet Boys, man? Come on.
Yeah.
Canadians.
Welcome back to Not a Strong Start, a podcast about movies done by guys with 3D glasses, which also known as filmmakers, and do stuff with things and people.
Thingamajigs, you make it do what you do.
Thingamajig. We do thingamajigs with two other guys. Guys that are here all together.
Pause on that one.
Are these glasses making you sweat? Because they're making me sweat. Are these making you sweat?
I can't see shit.
Yeah.
So how does Dan lead into a podcast? We're just guys that do thingamajigs with other guys. That's your opening statement.
That's it. That's right. And in conclusion, this is what we do on our podcast. Yeah. Speaking of villainy, that is our theme of this week's episode. Villains, which is why I wanted to go red theme for today, but Chuck didn't notice, did he?
I did actually.
He didn't fucking notice, did he?
No, I fucking noticed. You know what?
Try to do something sweet and he doesn't even pay attention.
Oh shit, it's like 3D too.
No, it's not. That's just you needing glasses, sir. All right, come on, Charles. Let's go. So in this week's episode, we're going to go ahead and do villains. We're going to talk about the idea of villains, why villains are awesome, and why they're better than heroes, in my opinion. Do you guys agree or disagree?
I agree.
I agree, 100%, no doubt.
If they're good.
Isn't even a debate.
Yeah. Unless you're Ronan from Guardians of the Galaxy, then you're not better.
No. I mean, then that's when you have a movie that shouldn't be as good, but we just argued that it was a good movie despite the villain. So fuck off, Chuck. So, all right, current events. There's a company called Trending. It's a metaverse company to offer immortality that gives you the option of live forever mode. What do you guys think about that? Basically, they're gonna go ahead and upload your voice, your ideas, your thoughts. You guys into it?
I mean, I saw a show like that on Amazon called Upload, and they had to pretty much blow up your head in order to do it. So that doesn't sound very, very good, very appealing.
No, it doesn't. What do you think about Upload, man? I saw it.
I enjoyed it. It was a lot better than I thought it was going to be, and I like the concept.
Yeah.
But if that's the procedure, probably not.
I didn't watch it. I already saw Johnny Mnemonic.
We know for the 17th time you've seen Johnny Mnemonic starring Keanu Reeves. But I feel like if Chuck was to upload himself, I feel like you'd purposely create like 17 versions of you just to hound us on my cell phone, on my laptop, on my iPad, on my iWatch. Pop it up. Hey, Chuck. Hey, Dan.
Hey, Dan, have you checked out this new Pornhub entry? Just
anytime I try to do anything, when I try to watch porn on my phone, there he is just peeking. I see you. Come on. When you were a kid, did you always want to play the villain? Did you always want to play the hero?
I mean, always the villain. I remember even since like the fourth grade when I started acting, doing theater. Usually it was the bad guys, the villain roles that I would go for and get. They were always just more fun to play. I think what makes the villains better, besides them being more fun, is there's always exceptions, but generally there's less restrictions with a villain. The rules don't always apply to a villain, so they're more entertaining to watch than a lot of the protagonists or the good guys that have to be straight edge and always do the right thing.
Yeah, I agree. What about you, Chuck?
I want to be Hollow Man.
I could make so many jokes. I'm not going to. I'm going to keep those opinions to myself. I like to be able to maintain any kind of ad sponsorship that we might be able to get. I'd rather lose it 5 minutes from now on my own, but
I think a bad guy is just our villain. is doing all the things that we probably want to do, but we don't because we're not bad people and we have a conscience and we're moral. So I think that's, you get to play a villain, you get to act like the villain when you're younger. Like, I'm the bad guy, it's like, because you get to act out some of those things that you probably want to do in real life, which is like murder and maim and rob people.
Because at the end of the day, that's what we want to do.
Yeah.
No, I remember in high school once, because like I said, most of my roles usually were the villain in the plays that we were doing for theater. And I remember once, this was this one girl who ended up joining one of the musicals that I was in.
She hot?
And
She hot?
She was good looking. She was good looking, and she had the voice of an angel. But I remember we were talking. Yeah,
soup of the day, huh?
Yeah.
Sounds good. I'm sorry, dude. Go ahead.
In our best evil laugh.
All right, go ahead, Jose. You're doing good. Keep it up.
You're gonna let me finish the story?
Yeah, you're doing great, dude. Let's go. Come on.
There goes our podcast episode. We keep interrupting you.
Yeah. Wait, when it's Chuck's turn to talk, he doesn't want to talk, but then he wants to interrupt.
Now he can't shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm talking to her in the back at one point, and I remember she told me, she was like, "Oh, I thought you were an asshole. Like, I didn't want to talk to you at all." And I'm like, "Well, I've never interacted with this girl ever at all." And it turns out it was based off of the plays. Since I always played the bad guy, she created that link between me and like being an asshole. So she was like, if we were in the play, I probably would never have talked to you.
Nah.
So you're real life Johnny Lawrence. What's his name in real life?
Johnny Lawrence.
No, the actor.
Johnny Lawrence.
That's
his
who
name?
he is. He doesn't have a real name. That's who he is. Cobra Kai never dies.
Yeah, that's
You're
the
that
real
guy.
him. That's the real him. The other part, the real life part, that's just the cover.
Oh.
Yeah.
You were John Lithgow in Cliffhanger, not John Lithgow in Third Rock from the Sun. Do you remember John Lithgow used to always be in a bunch of horror movies? I mean, not horror movies. He was a villain in action movies. He was known as a villain guy, but then he'd also do comedy.
Yeah, Raising Cain. And he was good in Dexter. Did you ever watch Dexter?
Yes, I did.
He was
That
great.
season
I stopped after that. After that,
That's
I
the
was
best
like,
season.
I'm dead.
Yeah, I saw the one after with Julia Stiles, and I was like, I'm out. That's
I
when
hate
lost it
Julia
for me.
Stiles. She's number one on my list of like actors that I hate the most.
Is she number one on your list?
I think she is. Yeah,
That's
really
a
think she is.
random number one.
Yeah,
It's a random
I
number
fucking
one,
hate
but
her, dude. Yeah.
also kind of get it.
Yeah.
but Dan brought up a good point when you're talking about Lifka, is there are certain people that when I'm like watching a movie or something, if I see that person in there at the beginning of the movie, I'm like, oh, this person, they're behind it. They're definitely the bad guy. There's no role this person plays without them being an asshole or a bad guy. And there are those actors out there. You see them in a movie, they're betraying someone.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. And they even look like assholes. You know what I mean? There's like a smugness to them. You know, like somebody on this podcast that's just looking at me right now that just has a smugness to them, that just has straight villainy. You just know it. But
Someone in red, all in red.
I'll let the audience figure that out. What makes a good villain for you guys? So when Chuck said, "Oh, on his snobby throne, talking about how Ronan sucks. He doesn't do it for me. He just like a flaccid villain."
Yeah,
Please,
he did.
explain to us why.
And it's not because he's blue. Okay, he's just
Yeah,
a
that's
bad
what I'm
villain.
saying.
Because he's
Chuck.
blue. That's why.
Let's get past the
Blue.
color here, these characters.
Yeah, just like him, just like what was the dude? Apocalypse.
Thanos.
Thanos. Well, he's purple, right? Who else is blue that sucks?
All the Smurfs.
All the Smurfs.
The Blue Man Group.
The
They
blue
suck.
little monsters with Kevin Arnold. That guy sucked too for a villain.
Kevin Arnold.
That's all I got.
But you mean Howie Mandel? Really, is Howie Mandel? Come on.
Yeah.
Dude, how come that movie's not in the 100 horror movie challenge?
For me personally, I like those gray area villains where it's like they truly believe in what they're doing. They feel like what they're doing, their actions are the right thing to do. They're not doing evil acts just to be evil. Like, I want to be evil today. It's like, okay, this is what I feel is best, and they truly believe that. It's those type of villains that you sit back and you kind of listen to what their purpose is and what their goal is, and you're like, I can kind of understand that. Like a good example, Killmonger, villain of Black Panther. If you listen to why he's doing everything, his motivation, his drive is like, I mean, he kind of makes a good point. Like, I understand that. Yeah, maybe the actions aren't the best way to go about it, but I can understand why he's doing what he's doing. And in fact, he makes some of the stuff that the hero Black Panther is doing and what's motivating him seem incorrect.
Yeah, and I think that's what's interesting about the idea of villains, because to write a really good villain, they're a hero in their own eyes. At least most of them are, right? So in their point of view, they are the hero. They take an extreme measure to it. So like a good example is you have Martin Luther King versus Malcolm X, right? One of them is going to take a peaceful approach. One of them is going to be like, okay, you're going to attack us. We're going to attack you back. We're going to fight fire with fire. Like Magneto had that idea of humans are oppressing mutants. Well, we as mutants are going to prove our superiority and we're going to take over the planet. That's what we're going to do. So you have that interesting approach on it. You can also go the one of the Joker, especially the version that we saw in Dark Knight, where his is straight. He knows he's a villain. He owns it. Some people just want to watch the world burn. So with the Joker, it was all about chaos. So when you get somebody insane like that, it makes it interesting. But if all of your villains were like that, there's a lot of superhero movies, there's a lot of horror movies that we watch where it doesn't necessarily have the best writing and it doesn't necessarily have the best characters that are fleshed out. So when you get that version of a character that's a villain, it can go very badly very easily. You know what I mean? Like it's usually not done well. That's why I applaud the Joker and Heath Ledger's version of it, because we actually saw a really good version of that.
Chuck, you could have gone Thanos. There's a villain who, yes, he was wiping out a lot of people, 50% of the people everywhere. But, in his mindset, he was doing this because there wasn't enough resources. So this was supposed to increase the longevity of all living beings. So he was the hero in his own story. And did he make a good point that yes, we, procreation and all that stuff is overthrowing what we have for resources, and eventually that's going to catch up to us? Yes. Did we have to wipe out 50% of the people? Probably not.
Yes. Oh.
I say probably.
China feels otherwise. They feel we should. They kind of had the Thanos approach. You can also even see a good villain in Hannibal Lecter, right, Chuck? I know you've seen that one, so please tell us about Hannibal.
He's very smart.
Oh, come on. Yes, he is.
Well, you know what? No, what's funny is that I was going to say Hannibal Lecter, but I wanted you guys to elaborate on it because I know he's a good villain, but I also think Anthony Hopkins did a great job portraying him. Yeah. So to me, I'm like, am I looking at just a great performance, which I am? Does that make a good villain, at least cinema-wise? Like, could there have been villains that if they were played by a better actor, or if the writing was better, that it would have been a good villain?
Absolutely.
That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think in the case of Hannibal Lecter, Anthony Hopkins obviously crushed that role and he played it well. But the Hannibal Lecter character is such an interesting turn of a villain because to his, it wasn't even like he's trying to do justice against people or he's trying to prove, he's not going Magneto. He's not going Thanos, where it's the betterment of other people. his was, it's more just his obsession, it's the taste, it's eating people. It's a different complex. It's like the psychological mind. It's such a fascinating turn on it. Like when you start dealing with like serial killers, like John Wayne Gacy, for instance, it's so fascinating because it becomes more like a morbid obsession that they have with people, or the death of people, killing certain people. That's what becomes really interesting. You know, you have something like even Charles Manson. Charles Manson wasn't necessarily obsessed with people. At first, he was like a failed rock star, right? Like that's ultimately what he wanted to do. Then he was just so good at talking and manipulating the young hippies that he was able to create this cult and go with where he went with it. But his main thing, sort of like even with Hitler, right? Because Hitler's a huge villain in history. Ask the early Germans, and he wasn't, but he was a failed artist. So as a failed artist, if he would have made it into art school, who's to say that the World War II and all that stuff would have happened? I mean, it's very interesting, man. It's the whole concept behind it is fascinating.
Now, about that, what is a recent villain that you guys saw that you enjoyed, and what did you enjoy about that villain?
Cool. I'll go first. Since Wanda, I liked how Marvel played Wanda. You know, the way that they set us up with WandaVision. It was really interesting how we had this character that was more of, you know, they first introduced her as a villain. Then we saw her change to a hero. We saw it in the Avengers. We saw when she couldn't control her power and civilians died. We saw that waiting in on her. Then we saw the series of WandaVision, her creating her kids, them being killed. And now you see this obsession with her wanting to get them back. So in Doctor Strange 2, when she becomes a villain, it's a lot more understandable and we sympathize with her character. And I thought that's what Doctor Strange 2 did really well. I don't put in the 9 range, but I thought the villain was really good. I really liked the way they treated her character. And it's always fascinating to me when they give us a villain that was a hero at first and we see the flip, because then it sort of pulls on your strings, like kind of like what they did with Civil War with Avengers, where we saw the two different sides, the two different heroes, and it's like, which one are you rooting for? Because they're both not really wrong. Even with Wanda wanting to go get her kids, she's going about it completely the wrong way, but
Team
it's still
Stark.
fascinating to see her wanting to get it. Yeah.
Yeah, Team Stark.
Yeah, I don't. He's not necessarily a Team Cap. He's not necessarily a a new villain per se, but Willem Dafoe's character as the Green Goblin in the Spider-Man No Way Home, I really liked his character because even though you knew he was kind of a bad dude in the first one, he was good. Then at the end, he's like, I fucked up, you know. And then when we see him again, you know, you're kind of sympathetic for him. Like he's kind of like, where am I? What am I doing? What's going on? But it's that serum, it's the serum, right? Whatever he took or whatever,
Mhm.
right? That kind of fucks him up, and then he just becomes evil. He's like the worst villain out of everybody in that movie, you know. And it's he was my favorite. So recently, he's been like my favorite villain because he feels like two parts like the spectrum for me. Like I'm sympathetic, but then I kind of hate him, and he's kind of a bad dude, and he killed May. Spoiler.
Yes. Yes. Spoiler
No,
alert.
Spoiler alert.
I do think that those are two good choices because it's like you can understand the psychological aspects of it. You know, I know a lot of people would just like, oh, why did they turn Wanda like evil? Why was she a villain? But it's like, you know, if you look back from the beginning, she was born in a war-torn country, grew up in captivity and experimented on, was manipulated by, by a robot, lost the love of her life, which she had to single-handedly kill herself, you know, created her kids, had to get rid of her kids to do the right thing. You know, there was just so many things over out there. At some point, everyone has their limits. You're gonna break. So it's psychological, but you understand that. And then, you know, with the goblin, you understand like there is a good side to him, but he has his own psychological issues that he's dealing with, and that other personality that makes it hard, kind of like Two-Face, where it's like that it's a stronger personality and is kind of taking over. So he's not fully bad. So those are really two good choices because you can understand why they're doing what they're doing. They're not just bad to be bad. So good
Yeah.
choices there. If I had to pick one, someone lower key, it's actually from the movie Fresh. I'm trying to see what his name was. Oh, Stephen Brendan from the movie Fresh. This is Winter Soldier. He plays this character. Uh, but this character was good because he's very charismatic. This is the type of guy where you're like, okay, I can see people getting along with this person, which you hear a lot about serial killers, and all of that is they're very charismatic at times. Uh, so he's easy to like, and his actions, while evil, his reasoning was not evil. He was he had a purpose. There was a reason why he was doing it. It wasn't just to be bad. He felt that it was the right thing to do. So that's why I felt like that was a good villain.
Mhm. And then something you get some villains that should have a lot more sympathy. Like think zombies. Zombies are your villains, but it's like the poor dead souls. That's not their fault, man. They didn't want to be raised trying to rip off faces. They're dead. And now they're going in and murdering their family. Like, we don't really see the sympathetic part of the zombie. Is there any movies that you've seen other than Guardians where the villain just fell flat? You were just like, man, like this really could have made it.
I mean, you can pretty much name most of the beginning of the MCU,
Hmm.
where it was just very bland villains who were just bad to be bad. You know, their
Hmm.
drive was greed and power and all that stuff, which is all very boring. So you get a lot of that at the beginning.
Yeah. You could even say the same with the Star Wars prequels. Darth Maul looked badass. If you, I mean, and I'm not including the extended universe where you have the cartoon series and everything else. I'm talking about just the movies they presented in episode 1 through 3. Darth Maul looks like a badass. I love the way he looked aesthetically. He didn't do much. He like barely talked. He had a cool couple of fight scenes. He didn't do anything else. In part two, like Count Dooku, like, oh man,
Mm.
that guy
Mhm.
sucked.
Yeah, he really did suck.
He's
He was.
just like an old guy that was like, I didn't give a fuck.
They should have
So
used
in
him as like an evil wizard or something instead.
The one thing that automatically makes an unentertaining villain for me, if I see the villain has this characteristic, I automatically want them to die like very quickly,
They're
is
a woman?
whiny
Why?
villains.
Oh.
Whiny villains. What?
Oh yeah.
Wait, what about Joaquin Phoenix and Gladiator? He was whiny.
That's exactly the person in my head that I
He
was
was
thinking.
good. He was a good.
No, I
You
don't.
don't
I
like
don't like
him?
that type of villain. I don't like whiny
He was
villains that
so
are just
hateable.
whiny. I don't
Oh, in
like
the movie
whiny
Joker, you're talking
villains
about?
or heroes.
Mm.
No,
Yeah,
Joaquin Phoenix and Gladiator. Did you like
Oh,
him as
Gladiator.
a
Gladiator.
villain, Dan? Or
Yeah,
I liked him in Gladiator. The whininess. Okay, so it's obviously I don't sympathize with the guy, but I hated him like in
yeah,
a good way. Like I liked him. I liked that he was a villain. I wanted to see him fucking die. As I sit there and I see him, hit Russell Crowe, man, it gives you that extra like fuck that guy. So there's
yeah,
different ways that the filmmaker can make you view the villain. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a few different ways. The worst way is Ronan. Don't give us a
yeah.
flat character
Well,
that has no background or no desire for anything
yeah, and
other than
that's what I'm
power.
saying. Like some of these villains could be better if they're written better, a better actor. For like, I know we talked about it, but Hannibal Lecter, Anthony Hopkins, he got
Hmm.
played right by like Brian Cox and like Manhunter in like the 80s or 70s or something.
Hmm.
I mean, I think the movie was okay, but it wasn't like an iconic character, the
Hmm.
villain, like ever until Anthony Hopkins did it. So
Yeah. Okay. I have a question for you guys. It, both versions of it. Who is your favorite Pennywise?
the first one,
the first one.
Tim Curry.
Tim Curry,
Why?
Yeah,
because he was
it's kind
funny.
of like, yeah, the Freddy effect. He can make
Yeah,
you laugh while killing.
I agree. I totally agree on that. It's same thing for me. The new It movie was better than the original. I loved the original, but the original I loved so much because of Tim Curry. Man, he was so damn good as
Yeah,
Pennywise.
and he had more
Exactly what you
personality.
said.
Like
yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like we kind of knew his character a little bit more than the new one with Sarsgaard or something, right? Where it was just
Hmm.
he was just scary, which is cool. It's cool. The movie was great. It was cool, but which one I like better? Definitely Curry.
Yeah. Well, what you get
Right.
there is, you have a multi-facet, like multi-dimensional villain. With the first one, there was multiple layers to him. He can be creepy, he can be funny. We keep mentioning Ronan, but it was a one-tone character, which is
Yeah.
what makes it so bad. It was like there wasn't much shift to him. The Ronan you got at the beginning is the Ronan you're getting throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, and every time they say it's about power, right? I want power. I want power. That's so boring. It's like, sure, everybody wants power, but like, why do you want power? What does it need to get power? Is it to be more desirable? Is it to earn, to show superiority and your home planet is overtaken by a bunch of like warlocks and you need power to go and like free them? Like, give me something why there's stakes. Otherwise, you just want power, and that's just such a weak. I don't care. Like, I literally don't care if the guy fails or wins. I mean, it's just weak, man. That's where you start losing me with that. I like complex characters. Like, even take the character Alex from A Clockwork Orange. Boom, right there. He's a villain, but he's also a main character. So fascinating, man. I like that. He's a villain. He's a villain. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but he's a clear villain. Even though he's our main character and you're cheering him on, he's like that anti-hero, and not in an anti-hero the way that a Wolverine is, because a Wolverine is still a good guy, even though he doesn't want to be, and he goes about it the wrong way. This guy is a straight up villain. He's still a straight up villain. And it's fascinating to me. You want to see the villain
Daniel
win.
LaRusso in The Karate Kid.
Exactly.
Like,
Nice.
he's the
Cobra
villain,
Kai.
but you're kind of cheering for him.
Mhm.
Got it.
Exactly.
Now, before we go, I had a little game, a little versus battle. Very simple. I'm gonna give you guys each a villain based off of a genre. All right, so we're gonna start off with action movie. Dan, you have Hans Gruber is your villain. Chuck, you have Castor Troy from Face Off.
First of all, it's one of the best action movies ever. Mine's better than yours. And you have a villain that's amazing that actually withstands. He has great dialogue. The dude's awesome, man. Like, if you've seen Die Hard, there's so many quotable lines.
Okay, Castor Troy. Okay, first of all, I don't even know who the fuck that is, because it's either John Travolta or it's Nicolas Cage, which makes my bad guy better because I get two of them. I get John Travolta and Nicolas Cage. That's what I got.
Both not great actors.
Nicolas Cage is fucking amazing. That was blasphemous.
All right. Well, in this round, after these elaborate, amazing arguments for each of the characters,
Jose's so disappointed right now.
Very disappointed right now. You had Hans Gruber and Castor Troy. That's the best you guys can come up with.
I blame the 3D glasses, man. We're sweating them.
It put us in the fucking Silent Hill dimension, dude. Like,
oh my god, dude.
I'm gonna go with Hans Gruber as the winner of this round, just because I like that character better, because the arguments were shit.
Not because I earned it. Not because I earned it.
Going on to sci-fi. Dan, Predator. Chuck, T-1000.
Oh, the T-1000 is a better villain than the Predator because it's fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger. He doesn't fucking stop. It's like he can't be fucking killed. He's super fucking buff. He has a fucking Hawaiian t-shirt on. He has one eye that's fucked up after a while. And he's the fucking Terminator, dude. He's Terminator. What? Is that my argument? Right. That's it. He's a fucking Terminator, dude. He's a Terminator.
So Predator is the ultimate killing machine. The dude literally goes to different planets just to hunt their best version of their best animal, their best instinct. So he can go invisible. He's hard to fucking kill. He took Arnold one-on-one and wiped out his whole clan.
I'm gonna have to go Predator, mainly because I said T-1000. Arnold Schwarzenegger was a T-800.
I noticed that.
T-1000 was a sequel, so you don't even have the right character. Going horror movie. Dan, you have Chucky. Chuck, you have Gage Creed from Pet Cemetery.
Okay, so Chucky's awesome, man. He's like, he packs a little power punch with such a big mouth. He's a mean motherfucker. Even the way he gets in at the end, you know, when you see him, like his soul goes inside the body and he's saying whatever reason the guy knows black magic, which they don't really quite explain why. That's a badass, man. And it spawned like 9 different movies. And he had a plastic baby with Jennifer Tilly.
Gage Creed, first, he started off as a sweet, nice little kid. And then he became fucking evil as fuck after he got hit by a fucking truck chasing a fucking kite man. Hell yeah. Then he comes back and he fucking murks his fucking mom. How fucking cool is that? And he kills fucking Herman fucking Munster. How fucking cool is that? And he also real life fucking Gage was in on audition with our friend Kevin Lyons like 20 years later. Boom, fuck off.
I have to give Chuck credit. He did a lot with a little. But Chucky still wins that one.
Come on, dude.
You didn't give us anything. You just described the plot of the movie.
I said he was badass and he was cute and he got hit by a truck. I even threw in Kite Man. You fucking racist fuck.
Disney. Dan, you have Maleficent. Chuck, you have Jafar.
I think if I said what I wanted to say, we would get canceled. How about that?
Okay. All right. I'll just go with Maleficent. I'm just gonna go off the cartoon then, okay? She turns into a giant fucking dragon. She fights the fucking dude, almost fucking kills him, and she's a badass, man. She's like a demon, even though they started making the new movies or whatever, and you know, whatever. I'm just going strictly off the cartoon, Sleeping Beauty and all that. But she's a fucking sorceress. They still show her light show over at Disneyland, like what, 30, 40 years later? She's a dragon, dude. She's a fucking dragon.
For actually having an argument, Maleficent wins this one. 2 more quick ones. Superhero movie. Dan, you have General Zod. Chuck, you have Ultron.
So General Zod. General Zod is our best version of what we've seen, even in the original and even in the new Superman movie. I love seeing the exact opposite of Superman. He gave him the hardest fight. There's always General Zod against Superman. He was his best villains in the movie representation that we've seen. And even Michael Shannon was a very good actor they casted for it. And I love what he won, man. It was basically the same thing we said with Malcolm X versus Martin Luther King. He wanted to take Krypton and wanted to basically take over. The dude was a badass. Dominate.
Ultron isn't fucking great in the fucking movie. He should have been more fucking badass, but he was a little bit badass and he fucking killed Quicksilver, technically. And he also created fucking Wanda in a certain way with her fucking pain and fucking all her bullshit. So through proxy, he created one of the best villains in the MCU universe, which is Wanda.
This round goes to General Zod, Dan. When you start off with, he wasn't a great villain.
You're picking these. You gave him General fucking Zod. He's like the best villain in fucking DCU.
It's randomized. All right. Last one.
5-0.
Last one. It's the luck of the draw here. All right. For thriller movie, we have Dan, you have John Doe from 7. Chuck, you have Kaiser Soze from The Usual Suspects.
Kaiser Soze murked the fucking most badass fucking team of badass fucking dudes ever in fucking Stephen Baldwin. He fucking tricked everybody. He came up with this fucking elaborate story off a fucking bulletin board and tricked fucking Master Detective Chaz Palomazur, whatever. And he also had one of the best twists ever in a fucking crime thriller movie in the history of cinema.
All right, so John Doe, man. 7 was a badass movie. It's so good.
Not the
David
character.
Yes, it is. I'm trying to get into it. Okay. The way Fincher sets up this movie, but what's in the box, man? The way he sets up each of the cardinal sins and uses that for the murder scenes, and you go in there, it's so nasty. You go in there, you see that big fat guy with his head. Every time I get that visualization, bro, it's so gross. This guy was a fucking savage. It destroyed Brad Pitt, and it really chopped off the head of Gwyneth Paltrow, which let's be frankly here, kind of liked it.
I would say based on the arguments here, this one goes to Kaiser Soze and Chuck.
Yes!
Hey.
Moral victory! Thank you, Jose. They actually made her head that they were going to use in the box and show it in the movie, and they never did, which was better, but they actually used it for the movie Contagion. Her fucking head.
Fun fact.
All right, guys. What's on the queue? Ding, 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 ding. What movie with a very, very good villain do you guys recommend?
I guess I would say No Country for Old Men. The villain in there, Anton, played by Javier Bardem, is a really good villain. He's the type who, while his acts are kind of evil and psychotic, he's the type of character where it's like you don't think he's doing it just to be evil. I don't think he understands or is empathetic towards like human pain or human or stuff like that. He's just doing it because that's what he has to do.
Cool.
Nice.
How about you,
I'm gonna
Chuck?
go same year, same award. I think they got like best actor and best supporting actor, but I'm gonna go with There Will Be Blood with Daniel Day-Lewis. His character in that movie was a huge fucking villain, and he was the main fucking character, and he was just a very, very despicable fucking human being. And to me, one of the best characters on cinema all time.
Nice.
So awesome that I can't remember his fucking name right now.
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah, it's Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah, he just has my name and everything, but yeah.
No, I know his name. I don't know his name in the movie.
Gotcha. We'll white dissolve that. Anyways, I'm gonna go with Psycho. Norman Bates, man, like the fact that Alfred Hitchcock set up where you have the main character and the main character ends up dying in the first act of the movie. Fucking phenomenal. Talk about a twist ending. It has a phenomenal twist ending. One of the first and one of the best we've ever seen in cinema. So many movies have tried to duplicate something like that, but he really captures that insanity. Loved it. Norman Bates, Psycho. Other than that, that was our 3D version. I hope you guys wore your 3D glasses for this episode because we do absolutely nothing other than hide the fact that me and Chuck were sweating as we were wearing them. Thank you, guys. But go ahead and follow us on YouTube. Watch us on YouTube. Subscribe, like, comment. Not a Strong Start. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram at Not a Strong Start. I'm your host, Daniel DeSangre, King_Sangre, Sangre.
I am not your host, El Malo, and you can find me on Instagram at This Is Me Nombre.
Big surprise. We got nothing again.
And that's Chuck.
And that's
Mr.
Chuck
White
and
Dissolve.
Chad Radwell, Mr. White Dissolve at Chad Radwell. You can find them. Other than that, thanks, guys. A lot of white dissolves in this episode. Get ready for it.